Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the start of another work week. The markets just opened a few moments ago. And for a Monday, it's a relatively soft open. Not a lot of craziness to hit the floor just yet. So we'll let them sort things out a little bit here. Well, let's take a look at where they've been in the overnight session. Well, here, let's do this on the Raptor today. So this is the NASDAQ that I'm following on this screen. I've also got soybeans and crude oil up. But of course, I can take a look at any market which is of interest to you. It looks like the overnight was, well, a little bit choppy, truth be told. The London session looks like it opened right about here, fell off slightly, made a little bit of a recovery, and then they've been sort of just chopping back and forth ever since. So I don't know. We don't really have a direction to speak of just yet. We are getting a possible 4-arrow consolidation here in the Hawk. So we have 1, 2, 3 signals so far. Let's see if we get that fourth. I don't know if I want to look at taking a signal quite this early. So there it is. There's our 4-arrow consolidation. 1, 2, 3, 4. I could look to buy it. Maybe do that. Just throw a onesie at it. See if it goes anywhere. If it breaks out above the highs. How many? Oh shoot! The market's only been open for a couple of minutes. This is one of those hit and hope type trades. We don't really have a whole lot of structure just yet. And now they're drifting into a macro pullback, and with a little bit of luck, it will even move into a yellow bar, so I don't even need to worry about this. Okay, now the thing with the macro pullback is it would have given me a slightly better entry. So had I taken the macro pullback here, you can see it's a little bit easier to reach our profit objective than by trying to enter above the high. So it's a little bit slow there, but that's all right. We got lots of time still. Good morning, Jim. Jim's giving me the advanced decline numbers. So we got 550 buyers, 1,850 sellers. So the advanced decline actually a little bit bearish to start. We have about a negative 1,300. And it looks like now we're starting to see some of that negativity drift into the marketplace. All right, so we're getting some yellow bars now on the Hawk. Where are we in our support and resistance line assortment? Oh, we're just below the median line. Look at the ranges here that we're getting on the support and resistance lines. Just huge ranges from last week's volatility. So working on a possible trend change signal here. The Raptor now into the hard edge. And we're getting a first micro-macro cross lower. The problem with this one is we haven't had a real test of the extreme. We had a little itty-bitty test here, so I'm reserved my entry until we got below the low. Now we're into yellow bars, so I can scrub the order entirely. And now we're working on a green bar sell, so this might well be our test of the extreme that we're looking at right here. No, yellow bars again. All right, now the eagle, look at this, the eagle giving us our hard edge bounce. We're getting a second push on this entry, and it's bullish of all things. There they go, they just tapped us, brought us in on a little slip. Come on, get up there, slipped us a tick. There we go. Trade forecaster, look at this, 144 minutes in trend mode. Well, that will be something if we manage that. So the current obstacle, this morning's little range that we've set up, 43.16 the high, 43.03 the low. Okay, so we're seeing the sellers come in here now. Now we need to see the buyers hold on to this market. Come on, buyers, give me a bar. Well, the advanced decline actually looking a little bit weaker still. Positive 600, negative 2,000, so that's a negative 1,400. Up a little bit from the negative 1,300, which would actually be a bearish sign. Nuts, I hate that. All right, so they don't seem to be inclined to go higher. We do have a rule of, I could reverse on this signal. I'm going to be too late to reverse on it now, unless this bar gives me a second push, but we've got the makings of a rule of 3 here. Let's see, we've had our test of the extreme. We only have 2 signals, but we'll see whether it comes back, gives us a third, or whether this bar actually trades high enough that I could use it as a second push on the entry. So I can currently use that low, and I can try to reverse on this signal. I don't usually like to do this. I don't usually like to reverse on a signal, but we'll see what gives this time. First micro macro cross here in the hawk also. Now we're coming back with a macro pullback signal here on the hawk. I probably would cover it to there, at least to the, ideally you would like to cover it up here, but to the bend in the macro line is a good second choice. Oh, and now we're into yellow bars, so that nixes that. Oh, that's too bad too, because this yellow bar is going to spoil this. I think we're going to see this continue a little bit lower here. Just went one tick too high to change that into a yellow bar. Almost had a green bar sell there. And now we're working on a possible 4-arrow consolidation. So we've got 1, 2 signals currently. Now the 4-arrow consolidation is a signal you can take off of a yellow bar on your hawk. In fact, if I get the third one, I might even set up to short it. All right, so there's the third one. Normally I would wait for the fourth. Oh, look at that, it's actually going a little bit higher. Now we're into a green bar sell and a 4-arrow consolidation. Oh my gosh, they're just bouncing all over the place here. All right, so getting a touch more bullish. And there's our 4-arrow consolidation. Oh, sorry, it's actually a buy arrow. There we go. There's the sell arrow. This is now a red bar buy. So we'll wait for the red bar buy to finish signaling, which it has not. Now we're into a first micro macro cross situation. Hey, lots of choppiness here as the market tries to find some direction. All right, so here's the first micro macro cross lower now. Man, these yellow bars. So I'm afraid that yellow bar may have ended up spoiling this setup, but There's nothing I can do about it. If they are ready to head lower, we should get that first micro-macro cross signal. All right, let's see what else has been going on here. Working on a trend change signal here in the Falcon. So we've got our warning dot. We can anticipate the hash mark to print here. Oop, hash mark actually printed down here. All right, here we are right back down to the lows. So we've got lots of buyers right here. This is obvious. We've breached the support here. So this is move number 1 lower. We can anticipate move number 2 lower. Hopefully it's a little bit bigger than what we're seeing here. Wow. We've got a green bar sell. This is a real mess going on here this morning. Okay, with our Eagle trade, it's probably a good idea to roll our stops in a little bit. I'm not 100% sure the market is heading lower at the moment, but if it breaks out those highs, it's probably time to leave. Now, we did have a very good initial stop here, so it's a judgment call, really. If you want to try to ride out the larger swing. All right, this was a pretty good effort, so I feel a little bit better about keeping the stops in a little bit tighter now. In fact, I might even go with something like the bar high-low. All right, so our initial stops were up there. I'm going to make my stops a lot tighter now and anticipate a breakout here now below this trend line. You see how well the market is honoring the trend line. That's why we're getting all this buying action. If we can break down below here, we should see some follow through. Yeah, like Jim says, the market's very subdued compared to what it was last week. Last week it was hopping all over the place, almost impossible to trade. This week's a little bit more normal. It's just trying to get a handle on the direction. All right, so there we go. Come on, take out the lows, and we should get some follow through now. I'm going to roll my break-even trigger just a little bit further. Come on, get down there. Doing my best not to panic. Come on, give me one more bar. Get down below that low. There we go. All right. And there's the break even. And why don't we try to run the profit target a little? Oh, hit the profit target. I was going to try to run it a little bit, but that's all right. We offset the loss that we had, so nothing wrong with that. There's that first micro-macro cross that I was waiting for all that time. We did get a green bar sell. which would have been worth trying. Because even if this turns out to be the test at the extreme, we do have enough room in here to find our profit objective off that green bar sell. Better yet, we have a great place to cover the trade, right? If it brings us in, if it engages us and then reverses above these highs, well, at least we know we're on the wrong side of the trade, right? There's no point in hanging around. But as it worked out, that green bar sell had a little bit of follow through to it and eventually came back with that first micro macro cross. And that also had some pretty good follow through to it. I probably would have structured the first micro macro cross something like this. And we found our profit objective would have been stopped at break even on the rest of it. In fact, I think I'm going to stop running my hawk trades. All right, another green bar sell forming here. And that since has been voided. Now we've got buy signals. All right, so notice what's going on here. We've had a little bit of a retracement, hitting the trend line from underneath, working on a hard edge bounce. We're still against the ATR. We've generated a sell signal. I can see that with my logic counter, if this bar finishes low, it's going to turn the ATR over, essentially making this my signal bar. So I could set up to short it if this bar continues lower. And the nice thing is I can cover it just above the high there. All right, so that signal has been negated. Oh, here it comes again with the same type situation. So there's our sell. That's going to be our signal bar. So I know that this bar that's forming right now, I can tell with my logic counter, it needs to turn the ATR over. And here we come again. So another very tight little range that the market's developing. All right, I hear a lot of scalp signals going on. Oh, a lot of yellow bars. Now we've got this red bar buy, which we could set up to sell as a failure, right? If you wanted, you could set up a trade like this in the hawk. Otherwise, you could use a red bar buy simply as an early warning that maybe this trend is going to break down if the market gets below here. And now, of course, it's looking a lot more bullish. That's too bad. I was really hoping we would see a little bit more direction after our sell signal worked out, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Here we are now with the first micro macro cross signal higher. So I would probably take it above the high. I would probably cover it below the low. And now it's given me one of these situations where the logistics of entering above here make it very, very difficult to be profitable, because you're going to see if I set the trade up like this, my profit target would be right here before I would even have gained entry with the old setup. Now, of course, we're back into yellow bars, so none of that matters. And here comes a green bar sell. Once again, the green bar against the ATR. So I know that this bar, I need to let this bar finish lower. It's not going to trade low enough to flip the ATR over, so I'm actually going to have to wait for another bar to become my signal bar. You could get fancy here, though. You could, draw a, this is starting to look a little bit like a bear flag, perhaps. And there's nothing wrong with taking the signal on the hash market. It's a strong signal, but I've become accustomed to using that ATR as a bit of a filter on the trade. So we'll see whether or not that's going to be an advantage or not. So this bar that's forming right now, I can tell from the logic counter, this is going to be my signal bar. If it trades low enough, it's going to flip the ATR over, and then everything will be in sync for my trade. If I put that little trend line back there, we might get a better idea why the market is hesitating a little bit. Jim says there's a lot of YM buy wicks down here. You can tell the market is reluctant to head lower, no question. Or seems reluctant. So far that ATR filter being helpful. The market really struggling with that. I'm hearing a lot of swing and scalp signals, but we're just focusing on this one here at the moment. Crude oil in a little bit of a decline this morning. We'll bring a crude oil chart over in a moment. There we go. So we're short on the Eagle. We got a nice trend change signal here in the Falcon. So we've got the down, we've got the up, we've got the down. And did we get a comparable signal here on the Raptor? Yes, we did. Nice little bounce off of the cloud transitioning. More importantly, we got the test of the extreme. We got two tests of the extreme. We got the big test of the extreme right here. And then just prior to the trend change signal, we got the smaller test of the extreme. Then the market comes down, produces the trend change signal. And it looks like we're seeing some pretty good follow through from that. So the market apparently paying off to the short side this morning. We're just about to hit our profit objective here. Our trade is at break even, and there we go. Hooray for us. Okay, I was going to bring over a crude oil chart. We've had a couple opportunities in crude this morning. Here's crude oil on the Falcon. Nice trend change signal here when the North American Stock Index opened. It would have been a little bit dicey to take this one because there wasn't a real big test of the extreme here. So I would have had to, this would have been your signal. It's a solid trend change signal, no question. Can I cover it up there? No. Cover it there? Yes. So just using the bend in the trend line as a possible support area to cover the trade. Of course, you could always use your stops. And very good progression lower there. So crude oil seemingly in a bit of a downtrend. Look at that, made its way all the way to the secondary support line. So had I had the confidence to trade it down there, look at that, on a single contract, nearly $750. Wowee. Those are always fun. Does anybody know why my charts are not docking correctly? What I mean is, I used to bring over a crude oil chart, enlarge it for you by, bumping it against the margin. And then when I click the resize button, it would automatically go back to its original placement on my other monitor, and now it's not doing that anymore. Now, I did play with some of the settings. Somebody gave me some to-dos to make the windows work a little bit faster, but I don't know what I unclicked or changed to do that. I liked it better before when it was popping back to its original place. So the nice thing about our Eagle trade as well was that it developed near the top end of this trading range. Sometimes I'll shoot these trend lines across here so I can get a feel for what other traders are seeing. We're producing another signal here off of the soft edge, but notice we're toward the bottom end of the trading band, and this could be problematic because even though this signal might well work out and the market continue lower, where do we cover the trade? Ideally up here, okay, can't afford that. To the hard edge and the other side of the trading channel, no, can't afford that either. So that leaves us now trying to cover the trade somewhere within this trading range. We'll watch how it works out. Okay, it engages us. And like I say, it may well tumble lower here, but it's hard to tell. I'm going to shoot another trend line across these lows here. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's much easier to sell at the top end of the range. You have more room than to try to sell at the bottom end of the range because you don't know whether or not you're going to bottom out. Oh, well done, Jim. He said he shorted the YM at 88 out at 44 for 44 ticks. Nicely done. "44 ticks, that's a good run." So you see now they're hesitating a little bit. And had we sold from here, from the soft edge, and like I say, it may all be fine in the end, but managing a trade like this, anticipating a pullback, wondering whether your stops are deep enough to ride out the swing, it's always a little bit more difficult than if you sold at the top end, as we did here, knowing we have a great place to cover the trade, right? We sold here, we covered up here, a lot more structure than what we have down here. A couple little blocks here on our Geiger counter. Okay, we're getting mixed signals here. We're working on a trend change signal in the Falcon and a green bar sell, which is bearish here in the Hawk. Now, the nice thing about this green bar sell is we haven't had it tested the extreme. The green bar sell, of course, is a weak signal, so you could simply use it as an early warning. Oops. So there's the looking for the failure, the green bar sell. Come on, I may have just got myself in on the wrong side of this trade. I didn't see these buy dots develop. Oop. Come on, give me one more bar lower. And then I'll know it's time to start rolling my stop. There we go. Come on. Come on. No. That's all right. I don't mind it breaking down like that. I got a little bit anxious on that green bar sell, so if they're floundering a little bit, I'm okay getting out a little bit early, even if it was a small loss. So like I was saying, a little bit of conflicting signals. working on a trend change signal here, and working on a first micro macro cross here in the hawk. Now these are the types of signals you need to use a little bit of caution with. Oop. Let's see if we can get a second push on this one. Are they going to give it to me? Okay, that's close enough for a second push entry. We have a market that is in a downtrend, right? It's obvious that the prices are heading a little bit lower. Does that mean they can't head higher? No, of course not. But you need to use some common sense when you're trying to buy into a downtrend. I would never try this with more than a single contract. I'm looking for every opportunity to try to roll the stop in, or you could simply ignore this trade knowing that the market is paying off to the downside and look for selling opportunities instead. Why? Well, because this may well develop into a bear flag, right? And now that we're long, we're going to be hard pressed to sell it. See, here comes a possible trend change signal to the downside now. That's why I say that very often if I have the market paying off in one direction, and today it's been paying off to the short side, I will very often just stay with sell signals. Takes a lot of pressure off of the trade. Yes, sometimes the market will make an insane rally. We've seen it happen. You know, it picks up to the buy side. It doesn't look back. But better missing one of those than getting yourself stuck in too many counter trend trades, which is essentially what this is. This is a counter trend signal. But let's see if we can't manage it, how we would manage this. So I'm looking for the buyers to step back into the market now. Somewhere along here, I know the buyers have to come back and start buying. How do I know that? Well, the market made a big decline, got down here to 42.70, and then the buyers stopped them. So you see this swing now, this is the buyers telling me, okay, this is where we're going to make our stand. And very often in this type of situation, I'll go with something more aggressive like the bar high low, and you know, keep my stops a little bit tighter. Because if the buyers fail here now to maintain this uptrend, I might as well take my hit a little bit early, try to preserve some of my capital. This case, I'm leaving it 3 bars back. I could leave it, 2 bars back. It's a little bit tighter. All right, so now I'm going to make a note in my trading log to see whether or not that was a good call or whether I should have left my stop perhaps below the swing low. All right, well, they've kind of stopped moving there, so we can leave them alone for the moment. Yikes, the advanced decline getting even more lopsided to the downside. 600 buyers, 2,200 sellers, so a lot of selling pressure on the market. Thanks, Jim. And you can see, had we taken this sell signal, how we would be sweating this trade at the moment. So we're going to nix that for the time being. All right, Alright, so we're getting a double pullback signal here in the Raptor. We'll see whether that comes out now with a sell signal. There it is. So I'm going to try to sell it below here. The signal, of course, being right here. I could enter a little bit earlier. But this is where the buyers have shown themselves to be active. So we'll see if we can't trap a few buyers out of their position. In fact, you could probably bracket this range because we have an equal number of sellers up here. And you can see now we're producing a buy signal. So we really have this market pinched. I would be more comfortable, I think, on the sell side. So our trade starting to look something like this. Well, another buy signal. Back to the top end of the trading range. Could be, a little bit of profit taking. Buyers don't seem all that strong at the moment, but if they can pop above here, there they go. Look at that. They just flushed some sellers out. Tripped up some sellers. Come on, get up there. Get up there. Come on. Come on. Nope. Get up there, you scoundrels. Nope, no follow through to the upside. And here they come back with another sell signal. So they're testing the waters both ways. All right, now what I want to do is I want to keep my stop a little bit further away. And essentially what I'm doing here is this market, you see, has developed an oversized bear flag. So I'm trying to short it to the downside if we get some follow through here, that is. Wow. Boy, oh boy, these ranges are tough. Trying to keep your stops out of harm's way. Come on, sellers. So the sellers made a stand here. I'm looking for them to do it again, after which we can be a little bit more confident rolling our stops in. Hearing a lot of scalp signals. A lot of yellow bars here on the hawk. Notice with our eagle trade, had we shorted here and ran our stops halfway as we did, we would have actually been engaged on our stop loss order. Again, that's why it's so difficult to take that type of trade. We have a green bar sell. We have the opportunity for a second push below these lows. So here too you can see the market came down rather quickly. This is starting to shape up maybe like a bear flag. We'll see whether they can break down below that, and that should carry the market lower. Come on. So we had a little bit of a buying cluster there. A couple little selling islands here. Very evenly matched. Yeah, Jim's keeps sending me the advanced decline numbers. Mildly stronger, but still very bearish overall. 700 buyers, 2,100 sellers. So still about a negative 1,400, been hovering around that whole 1,400, negative 1,400 range. Oh, you guys. They want to go lower today. I know they do. But they're just going to be annoying. No, there they go. Son of fricker. They're going to stop me here in a moment. The only consolation is that our stop is in a fundamentally sound spot. There's no point in really leaving it much further than that. All right, you guys had better rally it now, because otherwise I'm going to have to go down there and lay a whooping on you. Yeah, good question here from Phil. Phil says, what's the relevance if there's 1,400 sellers and the market keeps moving up? Excellent question, Phil. The relevance is that there's divergence in the market. And sooner or later, the market will head lower. Now, whether it will do so for this session is impossible to say. We've seen it before where, Jim will tell us the advanced decline numbers and the market will be very, very bearish, and yet it will keep going higher. Or vice versa. It'll be very bullish and the market will be heading lower. So longer term, it looks as though prices should decline. But whether or not that's going to happen today, well, that's impossible to say. That's why I always try to focus on the signal itself, and the probability associated with the signal. So here's a first micro-macro cross signal, right? We know it's a high probability signal. I probably set it up like that, and you can see the signal worked out. Here's a trend change signal. Now my earlier attempt at the trend change here was marred by the market hopping about a little bit, but had I left my stop alone, I would have hit my profit target. Now, I wasn't disappointed with how I managed this trade. I took a small loss on it, but you can see the ranges that are going on today. We really just need to kind of set our stops and walk away from it. There's another trend change signal, another high probability trade. So we're still seeing not the volatility in the sense that the market is exploding with price action as it did last week, but we're still seeing volatility in the sense that there's some pretty substantial swings going on. Not quite what we would expect from the trend mode that the trade forecaster is telling us. Jim's just telling me how he likes to use the advanced decline. He says the key is to watch, and if the advanced decline starts getting more positive, and if the ticks turn positive, that's another indicator from the New York Stock Exchange, then it would confirm a buying opportunity. Yeah, that's a pretty good way to do it, actually, Jim. Of course, as with all things trading related, it's always easier to do in hindsight. But doing it real time is always a little bit more challenging. All right, well, let's try to focus on finding a really good signal coming up. We might have to wait for a little bit, seeing how we may have a trend change setting up. I don't know if I'm going to get all that anxious about buying just yet, but you can see here on the Eagle, made a pretty good break of the trend line, even if I adjust the trend line like this. Our band has turned bullish. We had a little bit of a test of the extreme here, maybe not quite as deep as I had hoped, but it isn't always textbook. Just looking at where the highs from the last couple of days might have come in. All right, working on a macro pullback here, but it too is a little bit marred by, oh no, I was going to say we're seeing a possible trend change signal in the Falcon, but that didn't materialize. Instead, we're working on maybe a late filter entry signal. Now, the late filter entry signal is a very strong signal. The key to it is that the trend line never changes color. The filter goes out of sync and then has to come back into sync. That's very important. If the filter does not come back into sync, you do not have a late filter entry signal. All right, so our trend line now has turned red. Oh, it's struggling. And yeah, it's going to be spoiled because our trend line has turned red now, so it's no longer a late filter entry signal. A monster 4-arrow consolidation here on the, and a macro pullback on the hawk. I would probably want to take it above the high, you know that, instead of taking it on the hash mark. I probably want to take it above the high of this 4-arrow consolidation and cover somewhere below the low, but now it's going to slip lower, so it's going to void that signal also. I should point out, this would be a good example here, that a 4-arrow consolidation signal means you expect the market to move off of the 4th arrow. If this starts to develop into a 5 or 6 or 7 or 8-arrow consolidation, don't trust it. See, here was a 4-arrow consolidation, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4th arrow, the market starts to move. If you start printing too many arrows and the market isn't moving, there's something wrong with the signal. You can't, it's not as reliable. You can't trust it. Not to the same degree as you could before. So very tight little trading range we got going on here at the moment. All right, here's a little variation of the late filter entry signal. We don't have the filter in sync yet. I can tell you that if this bar finishes higher, it will be in sync. So let's just roll this back here a little bit. So here's the bar that brought the filter back into sync. This would now become our signal bar, and we would look at doing probably something like that. Now, our trend line did go out of sync, but it only went out of sync for one bar. And it probably went out of sync for one bar because one of these lows, probably this low right here, dipped a little bit too low. One tick too low, and that was enough to switch the trend line color. If your trend line goes out of sync for one bar, very often I'll ignore that and still consider this to be a late filter entry signal. Although technically, in the purest sense of the word, it is no longer a late filter entry. So we would, I don't know if we would have tripped our break-even trigger yet, but that was a pretty decent looking little trade that we had building there. Definitely one at least worth trying. Just moved a little bit too quick for me to put it together for you. I tell you, these NASDAQ buyers, they are tough nuts. I'm just waiting for another opportunity to get in here. There they go, a nice little run higher by the NQ. Well, a lot of sideways action here. Not a real big surprise, I suppose. I think we just got to wait them out a little bit. Okay, possible red bar buy here, which we know tends to develop near the end of the trend, so I'm wondering whether or not we are going to see things break down here. And a possible trend change signal on the Falcon. Into the hard edge of the clouds on the Raptor. We do have room to move here on the Eagle as well before we encounter the hard edge. Oh, come on, you guys. All right, well, we got a little bit of structure here. We've got a first micro-macro cross signal to the downside. I would definitely take it below the low. We could cover it above the high. Same problem though as before, where now we've got a market that's obviously in an uptrend. So trying to short it, well, that's just a little problematic. No discernible test of the extreme just yet, and they slipped us a tick on the entry. Come on. Possible trend change signal here on the Falcon. Oops. Where we've got the warning dots, we don't have the signal printing just yet. I'm going to anticipate that the signal is going to print right there, which is a tick below the low of the logic counter. And I'll probably try to cover the trade up there. And just like with the hawk, it's a little bit difficult to be selling here because, well, the market is currently bullish. If you compare this to Friday's range, we're still trading within a very wide trading range. The market hasn't broken one way or the other. All right, so there's our signal. We're right on the hash mark. We'll see now whether or not they're going to break down and give us a move lower, or if they're going to falter. Come on. Well, not a lot of activity here. I was hoping to see a little bit more momentum when they broke the lows. Oh, there we go. Got a little bit of attention from the buyers. Come on, sellers. Let's see, we're just not getting any kind of follow through here. This is kind of more of the same. I'm gonna hold my stop back on this one, although you could roll your stop in above these highs right here. We're getting quite the little range going on where you could essentially bracket the market, buy on a breakout higher here, sell on a breakout lower right here. Well, not much to do right now. Here's a good question from Tony. Tony asks, Eric, I realize you have to do something, quote unquote, to keep the room going, but if you were trading your own account, would you even be trading today? Um, I would. I have a tendency to check out the market, but not too early. I tend to avoid the open because I find that for myself personally, sometimes I end up taking a sucker trade on the open. Um, I would watch it. I'm not sure I would be, glued to the monitor. We did get a couple decent opportunities, but when it's chopping around like this, like sometimes it's better to go get a coffee, come back and see what's going on. It's not likely you're going to miss any huge move. It's it's a tough call because you don't really know when the next signal is coming. I like my personal favorite, and this is not to cast a negative tone on any of the other signals, but this first micro macro cross signal, I could take those all day long. This one back here hit its profit objective, got a little bit of a bounce, coming back with yet another first micro macro cross signal. Sometimes when the market's like this, that's all I do is I just hold out for the first micro macro cross signals. Now I delayed my entry on this one. Ooh, looks like it's going to work out for me though. So I really like to focus on the high probability signals when the market's like this. All right, I'll try that. Mark says, Eric, not sure if this is the answer to your earlier question, but about your chart sizing, you may have to go back and save your workspace again after any changes were made. Not sure if that's the answer, but it may help. I'll definitely give it a try. Well, you know what, you guys, we might close up the room here a little bit early today. Hopefully tomorrow we might actually see a little bit of direction to the market. If you are planning to continue trading today, I do like the short side better than the long side. I think it's going to be a little bit easier for the sellers because the overall market bias does seem to be paying off more to the downside. At least, like I say, the broader view. And on that note, we'll button up the room. I will see you guys again tomorrow morning, and well, we'll go from there. We'll see what the market offers us then. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.